The evening air felt crisp as Ana Lopez pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders. The bus stop outside her apartment building offered little protection from the autumn breeze, but she was used to it by now. This was part of her routine, the 5:15 p.m. bus that would take her to the Grand Westlake Hotel where she'd worked as a waitress for the past 3 years. Tonight was like any other night, except that the hotel was hosting a charity gala for the city's art foundation. For Ana, this just meant fancier outfits to navigate around and more important people to avoid spilling drinks on. As the bus approached, she double-checked her small backpack to make sure her work shoes were inside. The black flats had to be spotless just like every other part of her uniform. When Ana was hired at the Westlake, she'd been grateful just to have a steady job. The pay was decent, especially with tips, and the staff benefits included 1 free meal per shift. For someone who had been struggling to make ends meet, it felt like striking gold. What her colleagues and supervisors didn't know, what nobody at the hotel knew, was that Ana had once been on a very different path. The bus lurched to a stop and Ana got off 3 blocks from the hotel. She always walked the last part of her journey, using those precious minutes to clear her head and prepare for the evening ahead. As she walked, her mind drifted back to the music school where she'd spent 4 years of her life, training to become a concert pianist. The memory of the polished practice rooms with their carefully maintained grand pianos seemed like something from someone else's life now. Ana hadn't touched a piano in nearly 2 years. Not since she'd sold her upright to cover her mother's medical bills. Her mom had recovered, thankfully, but the financial hole had been too deep to climb out of. Student loans piled up, rent increased, and her dreams of performing on prestigious stages faded into the background of everyday survival. "Hey, Lopez, you're early today," called out Renee from the employee entrance of the hotel. Ana waved at her colleague, pushing away thoughts of what could have been. Renee held the door open and they walked together to the staff changing room. "Big event tonight," Renee said, tying her dark hair into a neat bun. "Some fancy art people with deep pockets. Jackson said the guest list includes people who fly in on private jets." Ana nodded, changing into her uniform, crisp white shirt, black vest, black pants, and those spotless shoes. "Just means we need to be extra careful. Rich people notice everything, and tip terribly," Renee added with a laugh. "Remember that tech billionaire last month? Left exactly 5%. I could have bought a coffee." The staff room buzzed with activity as other servers arrived. Their supervisor, Jackson Chen, strode in looking more stressed than usual, clipboard in hand. "Listen up, everyone. Tonight is not just any event. We have the chairperson of the National Arts Foundation, 3 museum directors, and at least a dozen major donors in attendance. The hotel director has made it very clear that everything needs to be perfect." He paused to scan the room. "And I mean perfect." As Jackson assigned stations and responsibilities, Ana felt a familiar knot in her stomach. These were the kinds of people she once hoped would hear her play. Arts patrons, music lovers, individuals with the power to launch careers. Now she would be invisible to them, just another person in uniform carrying drinks and appetizers. "Lopez, you're on the west side of the ballroom. Tables 15 through 22, Jackson said, marking something on his clipboard. "Renee, you've got the center tables. Kai, you're handling the VIP section." After the briefing, they headed to the kitchen for final preparations. The executive chef, a stern woman named Vivian, was directing her team like a general commanding troops. The canapes need to be precisely arranged, 3 pieces per plate, garnish on the left side. The champagne needs to be served at exactly 48 degrees. The timing between courses must be impeccable. Her voice carried across the kitchen, making even the experienced staff stand straighter. Ana helped arrange trays of delicate appetizers, tiny toast points topped with caviar, miniature crab cakes with lemon aioli, and vegetable tartlets that looked too pretty to eat. As she worked, she could hear music filtering in from the ballroom. Someone was testing the sound system, playing soft classical music that made her fingers twitch involuntarily. "Bach," she murmured without thinking. "What?" asked Kai, who was working beside her. "Nothing," Ana replied quickly. "Just thinking out loud." The kitchen doors swung open and Jackson rushed in, looking even more flustered than before. He pulled Vivian aside, speaking in urgent whispers that gradually became loud enough for nearby staff to hear. "What do you mean the pianist canceled? The guests will be arriving in less than 2 hours." Vivian shrugged. "Don't ask me. Ask Raymond." He's the one who books the entertainment. Anna's hands slowed as she arranged another tray of appetizers, her ears straining to catch more of the conversation. Jackson ran his hands through his hair. Raymond is trying to find a replacement, but it's so last minute. We can't have a charity gala for the arts without proper music. It'll look amateur. Can't they just play recordings? Vivian suggested. For the background maybe, but there's supposed to be a featured performance during dinner. It's in the program they've already printed. Anna felt her heart racing. Before she could stop herself, she found herself walking toward them. It was as if someone else was controlling her body. She started, then faltered when both Jackson and Vivian turned to look at her with surprise. What is it, Lopez? We're in the middle of something, Jackson said impatiently. Anna took a deep breath. I could play? The piano, I mean. There was a moment of complete silence, followed by a burst of laughter from Jackson. Very funny, Lopez. Get back to your station. I'm serious, she insisted, her voice stronger now. I studied at the Westridge Conservatory for 4 years. I can play whatever program was planned. Vivian narrowed her eyes. You're the quiet one who never talks about herself, right? Why should we believe you? Because you don't have many options right now, Anna replied, surprising herself with her boldness. And I can prove it. Just give me 5 minutes on that piano. Jackson looked at his watch, then at Vivian, who shrugged again. Fine, 5 minutes. But if this is some kind of joke? It's not, Anna said firmly. They walked to the ballroom, where the grand piano sat on a small stage at the far end. The room was already decorated with elaborate flower arrangements and twinkling lights, the table set with fine china and crystal glasses. It looked magical and intimidating. Anna approached the piano slowly, running her fingers lightly over the polished black surface. It was a Steinway, the kind she had dreamed of playing professionally. She sat down on the bench, adjusted it to her height, and placed her hands on the keys. They felt cool and familiar beneath her fingertips. For a moment, she hesitated. What if she'd forgotten? What if the years of not playing had dulled her skills? Jackson and Vivian were watching with skeptical expressions, along with several other staff members who had followed out of curiosity. Anna closed her eyes and began to play. She chose Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, a piece that had once been her comfort music. The first notes filled the empty ballroom, hesitant at first, then growing in confidence as muscle memory took over. Her fingers remembered what her mind had tried to forget, the delicate balance between strength and softness, the subtle shifts in tempo, the emotional landscape of the piece. When she finished, she opened her eyes to find that a small crowd had gathered. Jackson's mouth was slightly open, his clipboard hanging limply at his side. Vivian had crossed her arms but looked impressed despite herself. Renee and Kai were grinning widely, and even some of the kitchen staff had poked their heads out to listen. Where have you been hiding this? Raymond, the event coordinator, asked as he approached the piano. That was exceptional. Anna stood up, suddenly self-conscious in her waitress uniform. I haven't played in a while. Could you handle a full set? Raymond asked, looking at her with newfound respect. The program includes Chopin, Debussy, and some Liszt. I know those pieces, Anna said quietly. I used to perform them regularly. Jackson stepped forward, his professional demeanor returning. This is highly irregular. She's supposed to be serving tables tonight. We can adjust the server schedule, Raymond replied, waving away the concern. What we can't do is have a room full of arts patrons with no pianist. He turned back to Anna. The question is, do you want to do this? It's a big opportunity, but also a lot of pressure. Anna looked down at her waitress uniform, then at the magnificent piano. For 3 years she had worked in this hotel, serving drinks and cleaning up after wealthy guests, watching life happen around her while feeling stuck in place. Now, in the most unexpected way, a door had opened. Yes, she said, her voice clear and determined. I want to do this. Excellent, Raymond said with a relieved smile. We'll need to find you something appropriate to wear, and you'll need to rehearse the full program. As they walked back toward the staff area to make arrangements, Anna caught Renee's eye. Her friend gave her a thumbs up and mouthed, Go get 'em. For the first time in years, Anna felt a flutter of excitement that had nothing to do with tips or paychecks. Tonight she would not be invisible. Tonight her hands would create something beautiful instead of just carrying trays. Tonight she would remind herself of who she really was. Raymond led Anna through the bustling kitchen and down a narrow hallway toward the hotel's administrative offices. The reality of what she had just volunteered to do was sinking in, sending waves of both excitement and terror through her body. "We keep some emergency formal wear in the staff closet," Raymond explained, unlocking a door labeled "Storage." "For situations when someone spills something on themselves or there's a uniform issue. Let's see what we can find." Inside was a rack of various black garments in different sizes. Raymond flicked through them with practiced efficiency. "The original pianist was a man, so we're lucky we keep these on hand." Anna watched as he pulled out a simple, floor-length black dress. "This should work," he said, checking the size tag. "It's basic, but elegant enough for the occasion." Taking the dress, Anna held it against herself. It looked about right. "Thank you," she said quietly. "There's a staff shower room down the hall where you can change," Raymond continued, checking his watch. "We have about 90 minutes before guests start arriving. You'll need to be ready to play background music as they enter. Then there's a featured 20-minute performance scheduled during the dinner break." Anna nodded, trying to absorb all the information, while her mind raced through the pieces she might need to play. "Do you have a program?" "A list of the music that was planned." Raymond tapped at his tablet, then showed her the screen. "Here's what the original pianist submitted. Can you handle these?" Anna scanned the list. Debussy's Clair de Lune, a selection of Chopin nocturnes, and Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. Her heart skipped a beat at the Liszt piece, technically challenging, but one she had performed for her final recital at the conservatory. She hadn't played it in years, but the muscle memory might still be there. "Yes," she said with more confidence than she felt. "I know all of these." "Perfect. I'll have someone bring you water and anything else you need. You can use the piano in the ballroom to practice until the guests arrive." He paused, studying her face. "Are you sure about this? It's a lot to take on with no notice." Anna thought about her daily routine, the bus rides, the endless trays, the invisible existence she'd been living. "I'm sure," she replied. "This means a lot to me." After a quick shower, Anna slipped into the black dress. It fit well enough, slightly loose around the shoulders but the right length. She pulled her hair into a simple updo, using bobby pins from her work locker. The face that looked back at her from the mirror seemed different somehow, more alive, with a spark in her eyes that had been missing for years. When she returned to the ballroom, it was still empty of guests but now fully prepared. The lighting had been dimmed to a warm glow. Candles flickered on each table, and the stage where the piano waited was illuminated by a subtle spotlight. Anna walked toward it, her borrowed dress shoes clicking against the polished floor. Kai appeared at her side, carrying a glass of water. "Chef Vivian wants you to know she's impressed," he said with a grin. "That's like getting praise from a stone statue." Anna laughed, taking the water gratefully. "Thanks. I'm still trying to process all this." "We're all rooting for you," Kai said, glancing back at the kitchen doors where several staff members were peeking out. "It's about time something good happened to one of us." As Kai left, Anna sat at the piano and began to work through the program. Her fingers were rusty at first, stumbling over the more complex passages of the Liszt piece. But with each run-through, the old pathways in her brain seemed to reawaken. The music began to flow more naturally, muscle memory returning like an old friend. Jackson approached as she finished practicing a particularly difficult section. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "I owe you an apology," he said stiffly. "I shouldn't have laughed when you offered to help." Anna shrugged. "It's fine. You had no way of knowing." "Why didn't you ever mention your background?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his voice. Anna's fingers rested silently on the keys as she considered the question. "Because it hurt too much," she finally answered. "Playing was my dream. When I had to give it up, I didn't want to be known as the failed pianist who serves drinks. It was easier to just be Anna the waitress." Jackson nodded slowly, seeming to understand. "Well, tonight you're Anna the pianist, and we've adjusted the serving schedule, so don't worry about your tables. Just focus on the music." As he walked away, Anna returned to practicing, losing herself in the familiar patterns and emotional landscapes of the pieces. Time slipped by unnoticed until Raymond reappeared, looking slightly frazzled. "Guests are arriving in 15 minutes, he announced. "Are you ready?" Anna took a deep breath, flexing her fingers. "As ready as I'll ever be. Remember, start with gentle background music as they enter and find their seats. Nothing too attention-grabbing yet. Save that for your featured performance after the first course." As Raymond hurried off to oversee final preparations, Renee appeared with a small plate of food. You should eat something, she insisted. Can't play on an empty stomach. Anna smiled gratefully at her friend. Thanks, I didn't even think about food. Nervous? Renee asked, watching Anna pick at the small sandwiches. Terrified, Anna admitted. It's been so long, and these people. They know good music. They fund orchestras and opera houses. Renee squeezed her shoulder. Then they'll recognize talent when they hear it. Just pretend you're playing for yourself like you used to do during breaks. Anna's head snapped up. You knew I played? Renee grinned. The employee lounge has that old upright piano. I heard you a few times early in the morning when you thought no one was around. Never said anything because you seemed to want privacy. Before Anna could respond, the ballroom doors opened, and the first guests began to arrive. Elegant men and women in formal attire entered, their jewelry catching the light, their voices creating a gentle hum of conversation. Anna turned to the piano, positioned her hands and began to play a soft Debussy prelude. The notes floated over the growing crowd, a subtle soundtrack to their arrival. From her position on the stage, she could observe without being observed, a reversal of her usual role. She recognized some of the guests from previous events, the silver-haired woman who always requested extra olives in her martini, the tall man with thick glasses who left generous tips, the couple who never spoke to each other throughout entire dinners. Tonight they were in her world, rather than the other way around. As the room filled, Anna transitioned seamlessly between pieces, keeping the music unobtrusive but beautiful. She noticed a few appreciative glances thrown her way, but most guests were engaged in conversation, the piano providing a sophisticated backdrop to their networking. During a brief pause between pieces, she spotted Vivian directing servers with appetizer trays, including Kai and Renee, who gave her encouraging smiles as they passed the stage. Anna felt a strange disconnect, watching her colleagues perform the duties that would have been hers just hours ago. A distinguished-looking man in his 60s approached the piano during her break. He had kind eyes behind stylish glasses and a posture that suggested years of musical training himself. That was a lovely rendition of Debussy, he said warmly. You have a very delicate touch with the Impressionists. Thank you, Anna replied, surprised and flattered. I've always loved Debussy's work. I'm Thomas Chen, with the Westridge Philharmonic, he continued, offering his hand. Anna's heart nearly stopped. Thomas Chen was a legendary conductor who had transformed the regional Philharmonic into a nationally recognized orchestra. She had attended his concerts as a student, dreaming of someday playing under his direction. It's an honor to meet you, she managed to say, shaking his hand. I'm Ana Lopez, he smiled. Are you new to the hotel's entertainment roster? I don't recall seeing you at previous events. Before Anna could formulate a response, Raymond appeared at Thomas's side. Mr. Chen, I believe your table is ready, he said smoothly, guiding the conductor away with a pointed look at Anna that clearly meant, keep playing. Anna returned to the piano, her mind buzzing. Thomas Chen had complimented her playing. Whatever happened tonight, she would hold on to that moment. The first course was served and Anna continued with her background selections, watching as the room settled into the rhythm of the meal. Servers moved efficiently between tables, wine was poured, conversations flowed. It was a scene she had witnessed countless times from a different perspective. Raymond approached again, a slight sheen of sweat on his forehead despite the cool room. They're about to introduce the Arts Foundation director for a short speech, he whispered. After that, it's your featured performance. Are you ready? Anna nodded, though her stomach clenched with anxiety. What should I play first? Start with something familiar to warm them up, then move to the more impressive pieces, Raymond suggested. And Anna, play like you did during your audition. Play like you mean it. A woman in a midnight blue gown approached the microphone set up near the piano. The room quieted as she welcomed everyone and spoke passionately about the Foundation's mission to bring arts education to underserved communities. Anna listened with interest. Such programs might have helped her when she was struggling after music school. And now, the woman concluded, we are delighted to present a special musical performance to remind us all of the power and beauty of the arts we are here to support. Please welcome our pianist for the evening, Ana Lopez. The spotlight brightened slightly and polite applause filled the room. Ana stood briefly to acknowledge the audience, then sat back down at the piano. looking out at the sea of expectant faces, some attentive, others still distracted by their meals or companions. She took a centering breath, her fingers found the keys, and she began with Chopin's Nocturne in B-flat minor. The piece started softly, almost tentatively, like a question being asked. As she played, Anna felt the familiar sensation of disappearing into the music, her body becoming simply a vehicle for something greater than herself. The room grew quieter. She could sense the shift in attention, feel the weight of listening that gradually replaced the casual atmosphere. By the time she transitioned to Clair de Lune, there was complete silence except for the crystalline notes from the piano. Anna closed her eyes, letting the music flow through her. Tonight she wasn't playing for tips or approval or even a career opportunity. She was playing because for the first time in years she could. As Anna's fingers danced across the keys during Clair de Lune, she felt something shift in the room. The polite, distracted attention had transformed into something deeper. Forks were set down. Conversations halted mid-sentence. Heads turned toward the piano. The piece flowed from her hands like water, gentle, clear, and utterly natural. When she finished, there was a moment of complete silence before the applause began. It started slowly, then built, washing over her in waves. Anna opened her eyes to see many guests had turned their chairs to face the piano. Some were leaning forward, elbows on knees, completely engaged. Even the servers had paused their duties, standing at the edges of the room to listen. Anna took a breath and moved into her next piece, Chopin's Nocturne in C minor. The melancholy tones filled the ballroom, creating an atmosphere of shared emotion. As she played, she noticed a few people closing their eyes, some nodding in appreciation of particularly beautiful passages. An older woman in the front discreetly wiped away a tear. Through the corner of her eye, Anna spotted Thomas Chen watching her intently, his expression thoughtful. Near the kitchen doors, she could see Renee giving her a subtle thumbs up, while Jackson stood with his arms crossed, looking genuinely impressed. When she began Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, there was a ripple of recognition among the musically educated in the audience. This was a showpiece, technically demanding and emotionally charged. Anna's heart raced as she approached the first difficult passage. Her fingers needed to be precise, quick, and strong. For a moment, doubt crept in. It had been years since she had performed this piece in front of anyone. What if her skills had deteriorated too much? What if she fumbled and embarrassed herself in front of these important people? She pushed the thoughts away and surrendered to the music. Her hands seemed to remember what her conscious mind feared they had forgotten. The complex runs and crashing chords came naturally, her body recalling the countless hours of practice that had once been her life. As she reached the piece's famous Friska section with its lightning-fast notes, she heard someone gasp. The technical brilliance required here was not something one would expect from a hotel's background pianist, much less from someone who normally carried trays of champagne. Anna's world narrowed to just the piano and the music. Everything else fell away. Her anxiety, the watchful crowd, the years of disappointment. She was fully present in each note, each phrase, each dynamic shift. This was why she had fallen in love with playing as a child. This feeling of being completely alive, completely herself. When she struck the final chord, there was another moment of silence, longer this time, before the room erupted. The applause was no longer polite. It was enthusiastic, punctuated by cheers and even a few people rising to their feet. Anna stood, slightly dazed, and bowed. Her heart was pounding, her face flushed with exertion and emotion. She hadn't expected this response, had barely allowed herself to hope for anything beyond avoiding embarrassment. Raymond hurried to the piano, beaming. "That was extraordinary," he whispered as he shook her hand for the benefit of the audience. "Take a moment, then we'll need some light background music during dessert." As Anna sat down again, a server she didn't recognize approached with a glass of water. "Chef Vivian sent this," the young woman said. "She also said to tell you that was acceptable, which I think is the highest praise she's ever given anyone." Anna smiled, taking a grateful sip. Her fingers were trembling slightly from the adrenaline and effort. She flexed them carefully, then began a gentle Mozart piece as the servers brought out dessert plates. The atmosphere in the room had changed completely. Instead of the typical dinner chatter, many guests were discussing the performance, glancing her way with newfound interest. A woman in an expensive-looking red dress approached the piano, waiting for Anna to finish her current piece. "Excuse me," she said when Anna looked up. "Are you on the hotel's website? My daughter is getting married here in the spring, and I would love to book you for the reception." Before Anna could respond, another guest joined them, a balding man with a neatly trimmed beard. "Forgive the interruption, but I must ask, do you have any recordings available?" That list piece was extraordinary. Anna felt a flush of pleasure and bewilderment. "I don't, actually. I don't perform professionally." Both looked genuinely surprised. "But why ever not?" the woman asked. "With your talent?" They were interrupted by Thomas Chen, who approached with purpose in his stride. "I believe the pianist deserves a moment to catch her breath," he said smoothly. "Perhaps we could continue these conversations later." The guests nodded respectfully and moved away. Thomas turned to Anna with a curious expression. "That was quite remarkable," he said. "Your technique on the list piece showed years of classical training. May I ask where you studied?" "Westridge Conservatory," Anna replied, still playing soft background music with her right hand. "I graduated 4 years ago." Thomas nodded appreciatively. "Professor Winters was still teaching then, I believe?" "His students always have exceptional phrasing." "Yes, he was my primary instructor," Anna said, surprised that Thomas had made the connection. Professor Winters' distinct approach to romantic composers had indeed shaped her playing style. Thomas leaned closer, lowering his voice. "If you don't mind my asking, why are you playing at hotel events rather than pursuing a concert career?" "Your talent is evident." Anna hesitated, her fingers continuing their dance across the keys. How could she explain the complicated mix of financial hardship, family obligations, and lost confidence that had led her here? "Life took a different turn," she said simply. "Sometimes we have to set aside dreams for practicality." Thomas nodded thoughtfully. "And yet here you are playing Liszt as if you never stopped." He pulled a business card from his pocket and placed it on the piano. "When you're ready to reconsider that practical path, call my office. We should talk." As he walked away, Anna stared at the card, barely registering the name of the prestigious orchestra printed beneath his own. The idea that she might still have a chance at a musical career seemed impossible. Yet the evidence was right there in embossed letters. She continued playing through dessert, choosing pieces that allowed her to observe the room. The event was transforming into a success before her eyes. Guests were animated. The foundation director was smiling broadly while speaking with donors. And even the hotel staff seemed to be moving with extra energy. Renee passed by with a tray of coffee cups, slowing near the piano. "You've become the talk of the kitchen," she whispered. "Everyone's peeking out to see the waitress who plays like a concert pianist." Anna laughed softly. "I feel like I'm dreaming." "Well, don't wake up yet," Renee replied with a grin. "There's a guest at table 7 recording your performance on his phone. I think you're about to go viral." Anna glanced in that direction and noticed a young man holding his phone toward the piano, a look of wonder on his face. Under normal circumstances, she might have felt uncomfortable, but tonight felt different, as if the universe was finally aligning in her favor after years of struggle. As the evening progressed, more guests approached to compliment her playing or ask questions. Some were clearly influential people in the arts world, expressing surprise and interest in her background. Anna found herself exchanging contact information with several of them, including the director of a prestigious summer music festival and a music professor from the local university. During a short break, Jackson approached with a strange expression, something between embarrassment and respect. "The hotel manager wants to speak with you after the event," he said. "I think he's creating a regular weekend performance slot for the lounge. He's quite impressed." Anna nodded, still processing everything that was happening. Just hours ago, she had been preparing to serve drinks at this very event. Now people were talking about recordings, performances, and career opportunities. When the event began winding down, with guests collecting their coats and exchanging final pleasantries, Raymond signaled for Anna to play a closing piece. She chose Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, contemplative and beautiful, the perfect ending to an unexpected evening. As she played the familiar melody, Anna caught glimpses of the staff beginning their cleanup duties. Kai was collecting empty glasses, giving her a subtle salute when their eyes met. Vivian stood in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, but with the faintest hint of approval on her usually stern face. Renee was helping a guest with her wrap, both of them glancing toward the piano with smiles. This had been her world for 3 years. The rhythms of service, the careful choreography of an event running smoothly. Yet even in that familiar setting, she had been a stranger to herself. Her true identity buried beneath practicality and resignation. The final notes of the sonata lingered in the air as the last guests departed. Anna sat for a moment, reluctant to break the spell of the evening. Her fingers rested lightly on the keys, not quite ready to let go. Raymond approached, clapping softly. "That was more than we could have hoped for," he said. "You saved the event and then some. Everyone was talking about the amazing pianist." "Thank you for giving me the chance," Anna replied, finally standing and stretching her stiff shoulders. "It meant more than I can say." "The hotel manager wants to meet you in his office," Raymond continued. "I think he has a proposition for you." As they walked together through the now quiet ballroom, Anna noticed a small group of staff gathered near the kitchen, watching her. When they saw her looking, they broke into spontaneous applause. Her colleagues, people who until today had known only one side of her. Anna felt tears prickle at the corners of her eyes. Tonight had not just been about impressing wealthy patrons or reconnecting with her musical abilities. It had been about reclaiming a part of herself she thought was lost forever. "You know," Raymond said thoughtfully as they approached the manager's office, "sometimes life has a way of putting us exactly where we need to be, even when we think we've taken a wrong turn." Anna smiled, thinking of the journey that had brought her here, the struggles, the compromises, the daily work that had seemed so far from her dreams. Yet somehow it had all led to this moment, this opportunity, this second chance. "Yes," she agreed, her heart full of a new and tentative hope. "Sometimes it does." The hotel manager's office was nothing like Anna had imagined. In 3 years of employment, she had never been invited into this space. It was surprisingly modest, practical furniture, family photos on the desk, and a large window overlooking the city lights. Mr. Patterson, a tall man with salt and pepper hair who usually only appeared during major events, stood as she entered with Raymond. "Ms. Lopez," he said, extending his hand. "That was quite a performance tonight." "Thank you." "Sir?" Anna replied, suddenly aware that she was still in the borrowed dress. Her hands slightly stiff from playing for hours. "Please, sit down." He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Raymond excused himself, leaving them alone. Mr. Patterson leaned forward, clasping his hands on the desk. "I've been manager here for 15 years. In that time, I've seen countless musicians perform. What you did tonight was exceptional." Anna felt her face warm at the unexpected praise. "I appreciate that. I have to ask, why have you been working as a server when you can play like that?" It was a question she'd been asked several times tonight, yet she still didn't have a neat answer. "Life doesn't always go as planned," she said simply. "After music school, there were family medical bills, student loans. Playing doesn't pay the rent unless you're already established." He nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. But I think we may have an opportunity that could benefit us both." Mr. Patterson explained that the hotel had been considering adding live piano music to their upscale lounge on weekends. The board had been reluctant to approve the budget for a professional pianist, but after tonight's performance and the guest reactions, he was confident they would reconsider, especially if they could hire someone already on staff. "We'd adjust your schedule, of course," he continued. 3 evenings a week in the lounge, playing for guests. A significant increase in your hourly rate for those shifts, plus whatever tips come your way. You could maintain some regular waitstaff shifts if you wanted, or we could make this a full transition. It's your choice. Anna's mind raced. Playing regularly, being paid to play, was more than she had allowed herself to hope for in years. "I'd like that very much," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Excellent." He smiled, looking relieved. "We can work out the details tomorrow. For now you must be exhausted. Go home and get some rest. You've earned it." As she left the office, Anna felt like she was floating. The hallways were quieter now, most of the event staff already gone. She headed to the employee lounge to change back into her regular clothes, her mind still processing everything that had happened. The lounge wasn't empty as she expected. Renee sat on a worn sofa scrolling through her phone. She looked up when Anna entered. "There she is." Renee jumped up, holding out her phone. "You're blowing up online." Anna took the phone, confused. On the screen was a video, her playing Liszt at the piano, completely absorbed in the music. The post already had thousands of views and hundreds of comments. The caption read, "Our waitress stepped in when the pianist canceled. No one knew she could do this. How?" "One of the guests posted it an hour ago," Renee explained. "It's being shared everywhere. People are amazed." Anna handed back the phone, a strange mix of emotions washing over her. There was pride, certainly, but also a hint of unease at being thrust into unexpected visibility. "I came back to give you a ride home," Renee continued, gathering her things. "I figured you'd be too worn out for the bus." "That's really thoughtful," Anna said gratefully. "Let me change first." In the locker room, Anna carefully hung up the borrowed dress and put on her jeans and sweater. The transformation felt symbolic, stepping back into her regular life after hours of being someone else. Or maybe, she thought, stepping back into who she really was after years of being someone else. Renee's car was small and cluttered, but the familiar comfort of it helped ground Anna as they drove through the late-night streets. The city looked different somehow, full of possibility rather than indifference. "So what happens now?" Renee asked, keeping her eyes on the road. "Are you going to take all those fancy business cards and run off to become a concert pianist?" Anna laughed softly. "I don't think it works quite that easily. But Patterson offered me a position playing in the lounge on weekends. That's great. Are you going to take it?" "Yes," Anna said, the decision feeling right as she spoke it aloud. "Yes, I am." When they reached her apartment building, Anna thanked Renee for the ride and promised to text her the next day. As she climbed the stairs to her third-floor unit, fatigue finally caught up with her. Her fingers ached pleasantly, her mind was buzzing with music and conversations, and her emotions were a tangled mess of excitement, disbelief, and cautious hope. Inside her small apartment, Anna moved straight to the corner where her upright piano had once stood. The space had been filled with a bookshelf after she sold the instrument to pay her mother's medical bills. She ran her fingers over the spines of the books, many of them music theory texts and composer biographies from her student days. Too wired to sleep despite her exhaustion, Anna made tea and curled up on her sofa. She pulled out her phone, hesitated, then looked up the video Renee had shown her. It was surreal watching herself play, seeing the intensity in her expression, the fluid movement of her hands, the brief smile that crossed her face during a particularly beautiful passage. The comments below the video were overwhelmingly positive. "Who is she? Someone sign her immediately. The way her whole face changes when she plays. That's pure passion. I can't believe someone with this talent was serving drinks. This is why you should always be kind to service workers. You never know who they really are." Anna scrolled through dozens more, tears pricking at her eyes. After years of feeling invisible, of believing her dreams were permanently out of reach, strangers on the internet were seeing her, really seeing her for the first time. She was about to put her phone down when it buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Thomas Chen. Hope you don't mind that I got your number from Raymond. Just saw the video making rounds online. My offer stands. Call my office when you're ready. Talent like yours shouldn't be hidden." Anna read the message 3 times, her heart racing. She set the phone down without replying, knowing she needed time to think clearly before making any decisions. Sleep came eventually, deep and dreamless. When Anna woke the next morning, sunlight was already streaming through her curtains. For a moment she wondered if the previous night had been a dream. The performance, the applause, the offer from the hotel manager. Then she saw Thomas Chen's business card on her nightstand and knew it had all been real. She made coffee and checked her phone. The video had multiplied overnight, now posted on multiple platforms, each with thousands more views and comments. Local news sites had picked up the story. Hotel waitress stuns guests with virtuoso piano performance. A few messages had come in from friends who recognized her, expressing surprise and congratulations. There was also a voice message from her mother. Anna played it immediately, hearing the familiar voice filled with emotion. "Mijita, your cousin just showed me a video of you playing piano at your work. Why didn't you tell me you were performing again? You sounded just like when you were at school. I always told you that God gave you that gift for a reason. Call me when you can. I'm so proud of you." Anna smiled, feeling a weight lift that she hadn't realized she was carrying. Her decision to stop pursuing music had disappointed her mother, though the older woman had never said so directly. This unexpected pride in her voice was healing something Anna hadn't known needed healing. After showering and dressing, Anna headed to the small cafe on the corner where she often spent her days off. The barista, who knew her as a regular, did a double take when she walked in. "Hey, I saw you on my feed this morning. The piano video, right? That was incredible." Anna thanked him, slightly embarrassed but pleased. As she settled at her usual table with coffee and a pastry, her phone buzzed with a call from the hotel. It was Raymond checking if she could come in for a meeting about her new position. "We're thinking of promoting the weekend lounge performances," he explained. "After the response to the video, we expect people will come specifically to hear you play." The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. "I'll be there in an hour," Anna promised. On her way to the hotel, Anna found herself paying attention to details she usually missed. The pattern of light through tree branches, the rhythm of traffic signals, the varied expressions on strangers' faces. It was as if reconnecting with music had reawakened her to the world's beauty and complexity. The hotel lobby felt different as she walked through it, not as an employee arriving for a shift, but as someone with a new purpose. A few staff members she passed offered congratulations or thumbs up. News had clearly spread throughout the workplace. The meeting with Raymond and Mr. Patterson went smoothly. They outlined a schedule, discussed repertoire requirements, essentially giving Anna artistic freedom to choose her programs, and agreed on compensation that was substantially better than her server wages. They also mentioned that several guests from the previous night had already called to ask when they could hear her play again. "We're thinking of starting this Friday," Mr. Patterson said. "Would that work for you?" Anna nodded, mentally cataloging the pieces she would need to practice. "Yes, that should be fine." As she left the meeting, Anna found Jackson waiting in the hallway, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. "I wanted to apologize again," he said, "for dismissing you yesterday. I've been thinking about it and, well, it made me realize how little I know about the people I work with every day." His sincerity surprised her. "It's really okay," she assured him. "I didn't exactly advertise my background." "Still," he persisted, "it was a good reminder for me. People are always more than their job titles." Anna smiled, appreciating his reflection. "Thank you, Jackson. And don't worry, I don't hold grudges." As she turned to leave, he called after her. "The staff is planning a small celebration for you tonight at Mario's pub if you're interested. Nothing fancy, just people wanting to congratulate you properly." The gesture touched her deeply. "I'll be there," she promised. Walking back through the city, Anna found herself standing outside a music store she had deliberately avoided for years. The display window featured a beautiful upright piano, smaller than her old one but with a warm, rich finish that invited touch. Before she could talk herself out of it, Anna entered the shop. The familiar smell of wood polish and the distant sound of someone practicing scales enveloped her. She wandered through displays of instruments, sheet music, and accessories, feeling like she was returning to a homeland after a long exile. "Can I help you?" asked a friendly older woman. Anna hesitated, then nodded decisively. "I'm interested in that upright piano in the window, and I'll need to rebuild my sheet music collection. I'm starting a new job as a pianist." The words felt right as she said them, a declaration of identity reclaimed, of possibilities reopened, of a path rejoined after a necessary detour. Outside again, with information about piano payment plans and a bag containing her first new sheet music in years, Anna paused to look up at the sky. Yesterday morning, she had been a waitress with a hidden past and seemingly permanent regrets. Now she was a pianist with a future. One performance had changed everything, or perhaps it had simply revealed what had been true all along: that dreams deferred are not necessarily dreams denied. Sometimes they're just waiting for the right moment to return, often in ways we never could have imagined. 3 months passed like a musical movement, sometimes allegro, racing forward with excitement, other times adagio, slowing to allow for reflection and growth. Anna's life had transformed so completely that some mornings she woke up wondering if she was still dreaming. The hotel lounge performances had begun as scheduled that Friday after the charity gala. Anna had been nervous, worried that the magic of that spontaneous night couldn't be recaptured. But as soon as her fingers touched the keys of the lounge's smaller grand piano, everything else melted away. The music returned as natural as breathing. Those weekend performances quickly became the talk of the city's social scene. What started as curious onlookers drawn by the viral video became a loyal following of music lovers who appreciated her talent. The hotel had to begin taking reservations for the lounge on performance nights, something they'd never done before. Anna's repertoire expanded as she regained confidence, moving beyond the classical pieces of her training to include film scores, jazz standards, and even thoughtful arrangements of popular songs. Each week she pushed herself to try something new, to recapture the joy of musical discovery that had fueled her early years. On a crisp autumn morning, exactly 3 months after the night that changed everything, Anna stood outside the Westridge Concert Hall, clutching a coffee cup in slightly trembling hands. The imposing stone building had been the site of countless student performances during her conservatory days. She had dreamed of returning as a professional musician, though never quite like this. Thomas Chen had kept in touch, his initial interest evolving into genuine mentorship. After seeing her perform at the hotel several times, he had finally convinced her to audition for a special community showcase series, performances designed to highlight local talent in a professional setting. "You're early," came a voice behind her. Anna turned to see Thomas approaching, his familiar kind smile putting her somewhat at ease. "Nervous?" "Terrified," she admitted. "It's been years since I performed in a proper concert hall," Thomas chuckled. "And yet you play for a packed room 3 nights a week." "This is no different." "It feels different," Anna said quietly. "This place. I used to imagine myself on that stage. Then I convinced myself I'd never be good enough." Thomas nodded thoughtfully. "Many talented musicians battle those same doubts. The difference is whether they let those doubts win." He gestured toward the entrance. "Shall we?" Inside, the hall was quiet, the rows of velvet seats empty in anticipation of that evening's audience. The stage was set with a magnificent concert grand piano, its gleaming black surface reflecting the overhead lights. Anna followed Thomas down the center aisle, her heartbeat quickening with each step. "The acoustics in this space are exceptional," Thomas explained. "Much better than when you were a student here." The renovation 2 years ago made a significant difference. Anna barely heard him. She was too busy absorbing the reality of the moment. She was here not as a waitress, not as a failed music student, but as a featured performer. The showcase poster in the lobby had included her name along with 5 other musicians, with a brief biography that mentioned both her conservatory background and her unexpected discovery at the hotel charity gala. "Go on," Thomas encouraged, gesturing to the stage. "Take some time to feel out the instrument before the sound engineer arrives for your rehearsal." Anna climbed the steps to the stage, feeling strangely small in the vast space. The piano bench was perfectly positioned before the gleaming keys. She sat down slowly, adjusting the height, letting her fingers hover just above the ivory without touching it yet. Then, taking a deep breath, she began to play, softly at first, testing the action and response of this magnificent instrument. It was far superior to the hotel piano, responding to even the lightest touch with rich, resonant tones that filled the hall. Anna lost herself in the music, playing selections from the program she had prepared for that evening, a journey through different emotional landscapes, from Bach's structured complexity to Chopin's romantic passion, to a modern piece she had composed herself, inspired by her unlikely journey. When she finally looked up, she was surprised to find not just Thomas watching from the front row, but several others scattered throughout the hall, stagehands, administrative staff, and even a few of the other performers from the showcase, drawn by the music as they arrived for their own rehearsals. "I think you're ready," Thomas said simply, as quiet applause echoed in the space. The rest of the day passed in a blur of technical rehearsals, sound checks, and final preparations. Before Anna knew it, she was in a small dressing room backstage wearing a deep blue gown she had carefully saved for over the past months. There was a knock at the door. "5 minutes, Ms. Lopez," called the stage manager. Anna checked her reflection one last time. The woman in the mirror looked confident, professional, a far cry from the waitress in a borrowed dress who had nervously approached a piano 3 months earlier. But inside, she felt a connection to that same person, grateful for both the struggle and the unexpected opportunity that had led here. Another knock, and Anna opened the door to find a small group waiting outside. Renee, Kai, Jackson, and even Chef Vivian from the hotel, all dressed in their finest clothes. "We wouldn't miss it," Renee said, giving Anna a quick hug. "The whole staff is taking turns coming to your performances. There's a watch party at Mario's pub for those who couldn't get tickets." The hotel had to give half the staff the night off, Jackson added with a smile. You've become our local celebrity. Chef Vivian merely nodded, her usual stern expression softened slightly. Don't mess up, she said, which from her was practically a warm embrace. The stage manager reappeared, looking harried. It's time, Ms. Lopez. Your supporters need to take their seats. As her friends wished her luck and hurried away, Anna felt a rush of gratitude. No matter where her music took her, these people would always represent an important chapter in her story. The time when she was just a waitress with a hidden talent, serving drinks while dreaming of something more. Walking onto the stage, Anna was momentarily blinded by the lights. The applause that greeted her was enthusiastic, partly from those who knew her remarkable story, partly from genuine music lovers anticipating the performance. She bowed gracefully, then settled at the piano. In the front row, she spotted Thomas Chen nodding encouragingly. A few seats down sat her mother, who had traveled from out of town for this performance, pride radiating from her face. Scattered throughout the audience were faces she recognized from the hotel, regular guests who had followed her journey from the lounge to this prestigious venue, and in the back row, barely visible in the dim light, was Mr. Patterson, the hotel manager whose offer had been the first step toward rebuilding her musical life. Anna placed her hands on the keys and began to play. The first piece was Bach's Prelude in C major, a piece of mathematical precision and controlled emotion that had always centered her. As the familiar notes filled the concert hall, she felt a deep sense of homecoming. From Bach, she moved to Debussy, then Chopin, each piece flowing naturally into the next, telling a story of loss and rediscovery through the language of music. The audience was completely silent, collectively holding their breath during the most delicate passages, erupting in applause after particularly moving moments. When she reached her own composition, the final piece in her program, Anna paused briefly, gathering her thoughts. She had titled it simply The Waitress, an acknowledgement of the path that had brought her here. The piece began with hesitant, fragmented melodies that gradually built in confidence and complexity, ultimately resolving into a theme of triumph and possibility. As the final notes faded, there was a moment of complete silence before the audience rose almost as one, the applause thunderous in the acoustic space. Anna stood and bowed, emotion threatening to overwhelm her as she accepted the response to her most personal artistic statement. Backstage after the performance, still riding the high of adrenaline and accomplishment, Anna was greeted by a steady stream of well-wishers, fellow musicians offering respect, audience members sharing how her music had moved them, and even a few professional contacts with business cards and offers of future performances. Thomas Chen appeared, accompanied by an elegant woman Anna recognized as the director of the city's summer music festival, one of the most prestigious in the region. Magnificent performance, Thomas said warmly. I believe you already met Director Wong at the hotel gala. The woman nodded. I was impressed then, but tonight confirmed what I suspected. We would love to feature you in our Emerging Artist series this summer. More conversations followed, more possibilities opening before her. By the time Anna finally changed out of her performance gown, her head was spinning with potential futures that just months ago would have seemed impossible dreams. Outside the concert hall, her mother waited to drive her home, along with Renee and several other friends who had insisted on a late dinner to celebrate. I always knew you'd find your way back to music, her mother said quietly as they walked to the car. Some gifts are too important to remain hidden forever. The restaurant was lively with Friday night crowds, but the manager had reserved a special table for Anna and her guests. As she sat surrounded by people who had supported her through different phases of her journey, Anna felt a profound sense of gratitude. A toast, Renee announced, raising her glass. To Anna, who reminds us all that it's never too late to become who you were always meant to be. Glasses clinked, and conversation flowed easily around the table. Anna found herself observing more than participating, taking mental photographs of this perfect moment. Her mother laughing with her friends, her colleagues from different worlds finding common ground, her past and present harmonizing in unexpected ways. As the night grew late, talk turned to the future. The summer festival, potential recording opportunities, even the possibility of a small tour. Anna listened, excited but also thoughtful. Will you keep playing at the hotel? Kai asked, voicing the question others might have been wondering. Anna nodded without hesitation. Absolutely. That's where it all started again for me. I wouldn't be here without that night, without all of you. Later, as she stood on the sidewalk saying goodbyes, Anna found herself alone for a moment, gazing up at the city lights against the night sky. 6 months ago, she had been a waitress with buried dreams and practical obligations, moving through life with quiet resignation. Now she was a pianist with opportunities unfolding before her, playing music that touched people's hearts, reconnected with the passion that defined her. The viral video that had started it all had been titled, "Waitress performs piano at luxury event. The audience can't believe they're hearing." Anna smiled at the memory. The title had captured the surface of the story, the surprise, the hidden talent, the unexpected performance. But the true story was deeper and more universal, about second chances, about dreams deferred but not forgotten, about finding the courage to be fully yourself, even when the world has labeled you as something else. Her mother approached, car keys in hand. "Ready to go home, Mijita?" Anna took one more look at the night sky, at the city that had seen both her struggles and her triumphs. "Yes," she said softly. "I'm ready." As they drove away, Anna thought about tomorrow's hotel lounge performance, how she would recognize many faces in the audience now, how she would play with the confidence of someone who knew exactly who she was and what she had to offer the world. The waitress who played piano had become the pianist who used to be a waitress, and in that transformation was a reminder that our true selves are never really lost, just sometimes waiting for the right moment to be rediscovered.